For all those who appreciate the work that we're doing here on Standing for Truth, please hit that subscribe button because we are just getting started. All right, looks like we are live on Standing for Truth, guys. We definitely have an exciting one for you tonight. This is going to be one to remember. Before I introduce the debaters of the evening, I just want to do a couple reminders because we've got a ton of great shows. So please check the upcoming live stream section of the YouTube channel to see just what's in store for the next few weeks. This weekend, I will be debating David Beldock on universal ancestry or independent origins. Next Thursday, we've got T-Jump here, who will be debating Bill Morgan, creation or evolution. What is the best explanation? as well as some debates and interviews. We're just finalizing for the month of April. But at the end of the month, we got the big one, the big debate on accelerated nuclear decay with Jordan and Professor McQueen, guys. So if you're new to this channel, make sure that you're sharing it around. We've got almost daily content. We love debates. If you are a debate addict like myself and probably just like the guests here tonight, please, if you're new to this channel, check the playlist section for debates hosted by SFT. We've hosted close to 100 now on all different topics. It'll keep you busy for life. So lots of fun. Anyways, enough for me. You guys came here to see Boi and FIghtingback. They are debating Hyperianism versus Christianity. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We've had Boi here before. He was just here a couple weeks ago, debated Praise I Am. A couple weeks before that, he debated myself. So definitely check those out. But what I'm going to do is allow the debaters to introduce themselves. We'll break the ice. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. FIghtingback, it's your first time on the show, so it's a pleasure. Brother, I'm excited for this debate. What's going on over at your channel? Why don't we, FIghtingback, why don't we start with you since this is your first time here? Gentlemen, you are on mute. Just make sure you unmute yourself before you talk. And FIghtingback, good to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here. I'm excited. Honestly, not too much going on in my channel as far as content-wise. I haven't really been uploading very many videos in the past. It's been a while. So I'm pretty much here to do a debate every now and then and talk to people in the comments section.
Awesome. Well, you are always welcome on this channel, of course. So I appreciate all you're doing. I appreciate you giving us your time for this important debate. I know you're pumped. We're pumped. Boi, we're excited to have you back on the channel. How's it going? What are you up to? Plans for the future in terms of your channel? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Boi. I go by Boi. I'm a Hyperion. We use ontological mathematics to prove things, claims about the universe. Right now, my channel has a couple debates on there from Standing for Truth's channel and a couple from Pangburn's channel. But I definitely plan. Oh shit! I definitely plan on making different content that's not just like debates. Maybe I'll do sometimes I'll do political commentating, or I'll just do reviews of my debates, or who knows. I also make music, so probably throw some audio engineering tutorials on there. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, thanks for having me, and it should be a lot of fun today.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thanks to the both of you for doing this debate. We're excited. So why don't we waste no more time? Let's get right into it, guys. Tonight's debate is going to be introductions, about 10 minutes roughly, followed by an open discussion. We're going to keep it free-flowing and organic. Both of these gentlemen are respectful and cordial, so I'm sure there's not going to be much from me that's necessary, but of course I'll be there to moderate as needed. So from my understanding, FIghtingback, are you starting?
Doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna set my timer here. Okay, cool. Thank you, SFT, for having me on. I'm really excited. It's my first debate. And thanks, Boi, for being here. I'm looking at this more as like a discussion than it is a debate. My goal here is actually to bring people to Christ. And every question I ask you, Boi, is with respect and sincerity. So I tried commenting on Morg's channel and the Hyperion channels with questions, and I haven't really gotten many answers. Actually, I haven't gotten any answers. So I really wanted to talk to you because I have a couple questions. And the main thing is that I reject the idea that 0 is equal to nothingness. It seems to be a false equivalence. 0 is descriptive. It's an integer. It's on the number line. It is something. And so I feel like that falsifies the ideology within itself. Couple more questions. If we were a collective mind of some sort before the physical universe, what was the cause of that mind? Seems to be an infinite regress. Using deductive reasoning, it seems the only logical possible answer is that there is a creator outside the laws of the universe. And Genesis 1:1 tells us that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's time, space, and matter all in one, which obviously each one needs each other to be there. The Bible describes God as the Ancient of Days. So God is outside of our reality, and that seems to be the only logical possible answer. Also, the sine and the cosine waves that were making up this collective mind, what space were they in, and what is the origin of that space? It seems like Hyperianism kind of just took the ideas of the God of Christianity and replaced God with ourselves. And Morg said himself in a video that the goal is to become God or gods and goddesses, which, by the way, is the first sin. Satan told Adam and Eve, "Open your eyes and see like God." And it just seems like all these ideologies of becoming evolved past humans, as Morg also put it in his video, all of these ideologies, evolution, New Age ideologies, Hyperianism, they're all stemmed from this prideful idea that we're going to evolve into gods. And it seems to all be like, this same prideful idea. A couple more questions for Hyperians would be, what is the origin of evil in Hyperianism? Why would we manifest that? It seems like the world was created to be this beautiful, perfect, symmetric, just perfect place. And it seems like man has slipped into this lower level of consciousness of evil and greed. And I don't see why that would happen in a Hyperion standpoint. Christianity has an explanation for that. The origins of false religion. Why would we create these false religions if Hyperianism were true? Christianity gives an explanation for that. It's the Nephilim. People were worshiping these fallen angels, and that can be seen all throughout ancient Egypt and everything else. Hyperianism seems to contradict the law of increasing entropy. The Christian God meets the many qualifications needed to be the creator without the human authors of the Bible understanding the laws of nature, which I find that incredible. And I find it to be, reasons to believe that the Bible is the inspired word of God. And going further with that, more reasons to believe that is incredibly intricate coding within the Bible, amazingly accurate prophecy, scientific foreknowledge. I like the way Raw Matt puts it. What are the odds? What are the odds that human genetics are traced back to two people, Y chromosome, Adam, and mitochondrial Eve? That didn't have to be true. The Bible teaches that the universe is expanding. Job 38:19, has thou entered the springs of the sea? We didn't know about the oceanic hot springs until 1699. Job 38:24, by which way is the light parted that scattereth the east wind? Job 38:35, can thou sendeth lightning that might go to you and say, here we are? Lightning, it's talking about lightning carrying a message. That's electricity. Job 26:7 says he hangs the earth on nothing. That was written in a time where people thought there was this great turtle holding the earth on its back, or there's a giant holding up the earth. And it goes on and on and on. Psalms 8:8, the paths of the sea. Matthew Fontaine Murray discovered the ocean's currents in the 19th century because he read Psalms 8:8. Leviticus teachings talk about proper diet, which is recently being discovered to be extremely accurate. It teaches to quarantine the sick. That wasn't discovered till the 14th century. Leviticus 17:11 says, "Life of the flesh is in the blood." Written in a time of bloodletting. We killed George Washington with bloodletting because we thought it was going to heal him. It teaches to clean war treasures properly. I mean, it goes on and on. And so I guess to recap all this scientific foreknowledge, incredibly accurate prophecy, intricate coding. It's just like, this is the word of God. And I realize that's inductive reasoning, but I gave deductive reasoning earlier, saying that the only answer is a creator outside of the laws of the universe. That's the only answer, at least as I see it. And perhaps we'll discuss that later. But all these things, I haven't even addressed geologic evidence of the flood, philosophical logic of Christianity, archaeology that we found that proves stories in the Bible. The walls of Jericho discovered fallen precisely the way the Bible describes. Jonah's nave being found in Nineveh. The Bible predicted the Hittites. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's incredible to me. It blows my mind. So in conclusion, Hyperianism seems to me to be falsified by the idea that zero is not equivalent to nothingness, and that's the main thing I guess I wanted to discuss with you. Also, Hyperianism seems to not really describe the origin of anything. It's an infinite regress, and I'll yield my time with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fighting Back. Let me just remove your solo layout here. And okay, with just a couple minutes to spare, what we typically do is we'll just throw that into the discussion. So thank you for that. Also to the audience, guys, just tag me with your questions at Standing for Truth. That will be the best way for me to see those questions. And following the discussion portion, we'll have a question and answer for the debaters. So that being said, let's hand it over to Boi. Boi, the floor is yours. And it looks like it's you and I debating now, Fighting Back, because Boi is no longer here. I'll do my best to defend Hyperianism, but I don't know if I can defend it quite the way that Boi does. He'll be back. He probably meant to hit the share screen and he hit the leave studio. So
Gotcha.
Just one second. Just one second here. Yeah. So to the audience, make sure you're also hitting that like button as well. And okay, just froze up there for a second, but yeah. And tag me with your questions. I'm sure. Let me just shoot Boi the link again in the chat because Graham says this will be very short if he doesn't return. Yes, the shortest debate in the history of debates. I guess your opening statement was just that good. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I'd be undefeated.
That's right. The undefeated champ. You could retire. You could retire. One debate and done. Here, let me put the link in the chat. So okay. Links in the chat. I saw a Boi in the chat earlier. So, yeah, I'm Fighting Back. Your opening was so good, it almost scared me away as well. I'm just kidding. Hopefully he comes back. I've still got my full coffee here. Okay, what I'm going to do is shoot him an email as well. So I'm going to we're going to go on a brief commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. So give us a couple minutes to sort things out. Don't worry. We'll make sure Boi makes his way back in here. So just one second.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, my bad. My housemate unplugged the router like at the like. This is so like anticlimactic. I was like, oh yes, like this is so cool, and then like I was like, no. Yeah,
Well, you left us in suspense, boy. You left us in
yeah,
suspense.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this will
True.
better. It's the rematch. All yeah, we're glad that you're back and we can still have this debate. So, boy, the
Yeah.
floor is yours. Take your time, and then we'll jump right into the open discussion. So, go ahead, boy.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for hosting the debate again, Standing for Truth. And thank you, Fighting Back, for being my opponent today. It's really, really cool that you like took the time to like read the ontological mathematics book, and it's super duper cool that you're a truth seeker to the point where you're willing to, you know, engage with other systems like on a deep level and kind of try to understand like what, you know, the real truth. And I you know, shouts out to you, my man. Like it's really, really cool that you're doing this. Um, I guess one of the first things I'll start with is this is going to be totally unrelated to the debate topic, but one of my friends was a channel or was watching the last debate hosted on this channel, and he ran into somebody. I think his name might have been Tim Allen in the channel, and it's part of the. I guess he's like arguing for the other side. You know, my friends on my side. You know, whatever, tribalism, whatever. But I guess was some personal attacks going on, which I definitely think Standing for Truth doesn't condone on his channel or anything like that. So I would definitely say it's like if you like are a Christian or whatever, like I think it's definitely not, you know, Christian like to like use personal attacks against people that you don't agree with. So Tim Allen, if you're out there, this is if you have the balls, this is a debate challenge to you. If you want to back up like kind of your reasoning in a debate, in a like formal debate, like that's cool. But like, you know, I guess like just arguing with people and like throwing personal attacks is super cowardly and like it's just not cool, and like nobody thinks you're cool for doing that. So that's just like one thing I wanted to get out of the way. As far as our debate topic today, yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of questions for Fighting Back. It's really I could use Hitchens' razor and, you know, disqualify everything that he, you know, all the evidence that he has, you know, that's inductive. But we can you know, I won't be that mean today, but I will be using Occam's razor. And I look forward to understanding how someone can read the ontological mathematics book, but still, I guess, be a Christian at the end of it. Yeah, so definitely going to try to play a little bit of offense today rather than defense.
So looks like we got the opening statements, introductions out of the way. So here we go. Let's go into the open discussion. Let's keep it respectful, cordial, but free-flowing and organic, of course. And while the discussion's going on, I will save some questions from the audience. So once again, to the audience, tag me at Standing for Truth. That being said, the floor is yours. Fighting Back, if you want to start off the discussion, because Boi just finished off his opening statement, go ahead. The floor is yours, gentlemen.
Sure. So I saw I think it was your debate with SFT where you mentioned the book. And so I was like, that does sound interesting. Science is the future. I was like, wow, that's got to be something incredible. So I ordered it. And I was honestly like thoroughly disappointed. I think there's just like obvious fundamental flaws with it, and so I don't know. I was disappointed. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. I do, like, you know, deductive reasoning's definitely stronger than inductive reasoning, and also I showed you before we started. I got this too, The Metaphorical Suicide by Morg, and that has a lot of good stuff in it too, and a lot of truth in it, but honestly, it seems like the author is just like angry at God. that's the conclusion I came to. In fact, I kind of made a prediction before I got this book that this was going to be an attack on Christianity, and the very first words in the book is an attack on Christianity. And I just knew that was going to be what the book was. And so I don't know.
Yeah, I would definitely say like that Christianity is one of the systems that we attack, but it's not the only. Like really, the point that Hyperians are trying to make is that we need to replace illogical systems with logical systems. So that means anything from like atheism, which I'm sure you would agree with, to like New Age mysticism, like Buddhists and like pagans, and like, you know, like any system that is like esoteric and is like using like symbology like to like sort of speak on like absolute truths. Like we say that that's, you know, ultimately going to confuse people because of the language game that humans play. And so the, you know, why Hyperianism, I guess, is true is because we use math, which is the, you know, you can call that the master axiom. It's like, you know, it's logic that everyone can kind of tune into. Whereas like if we use language, like I was saying, people ultimately get, you know, the truth gets misconstrued. And so that's what we see, you know, with the, you know, the books of truth, like the Bible or Quran, or, you know, even like Buddhist, like, you know, books, or like, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That makes sense. And I definitely see what you're saying as far as, you know, I think there's mistranslations in the Bible. I believe there are. And so I see what you mean by that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, what do you think about the fact, well, I think the fact that 0 is not equal to nothingness, because I feel like that's the fundamental root of ontological mathematics, right? It's kind of like all
sort of,
built
yeah.
off of that.
Sure, yeah, like you could say that it's like that's like our, you know, what we use to make our claims. But yeah, so yeah, I would say the issue with, I guess, why you don't understand that 0 can equal nothingness is because, again, we're going, like, I mean, it's perfect that we just spoke about linguistics and stuff. It's because like when we talk about numbers, like, okay, that's like a logical way to understand things, but then like when we start to translate it into like human language, you know, things start to become misconstrued. And I would say what people think of as nothingness isn't actually like what it is, and like nothing actually is something. So I would say it definitely goes back to like a fundamental misunderstanding of what certain words like ontologically like represent. Yeah.
I'm not sure I completely understand what you mean. How, I guess, how is nothing something? Let's start there.
Yeah. So nothing is something like the like layman's interpretation of like Euler's formula is like 0 equals positive infinity plus negative infinity. So right there, like 0 is something. It's positive infinity plus negative infinity. But that's just that's just the real layman's like way to interpret it. But right there, you can already see the logical, like, you know, connection there between nothing and nothing equaling something actually.
Well, that's why I would say that 0 is not equal to nothing. Like, yeah, 0 is equal to positive infinity and negative infinity. That makes sense. But that's why I don't. That's why I say that that's not nothing. That's something. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I read the books. I watched.
Correct. It's not nothing. It's something. You're correct.
0 is, but not nothingness. Nothingness is not something.
I just showed you it's equivalent to something, though. Like
0 is equivalent to something.
Correct.
The integer, not nothingness.
Right. So when we're
Zero
talking about
is descriptive.
yeah, so when we're talking about ontological mathematics, though, we don't say that math is like an abstract concept or whatever. Math is, again, ontologically real. So yeah, like I guess it's just a misunderstanding with, I guess, what ontological mathematics is and what these numbers are supposed to represent. Is like these numbers represent actual patterns that go on in existence. That's why it's so potent. That's why it's so true. Yeah.
Okay, I see what I see what you're getting at, and I see what you mean.
Yeah. And like it's interesting to me. It's very interesting that a Christian person would deny that, given, you know, it's usually atheists that will give me that type of argument. It's usually atheists that will say like, okay, like these abstract things are just fucking numbers. Like, what do you mean they have like truth value to them or whatever? So I mean, that's just interesting to me.
No, I mean, I see what you mean. Oh, by the way, I meant to say in my opening, I am thoroughly refreshed to be discussing with somebody that understands that the material world is not all that exists.
Yeah.
I deal with a lot of materialists on YouTube, and it's just like,
Same.
what are you talking about?
Yeah. So that's why I really would hope in this debate we can kind of like set aside a lot of the materialist arguments that are happening and try to, you know, hone in on some of the metaphysical arguments. Yeah, which is why I guess I would. So I guess here I'll start my attack here. What you read? So if you read the ontological mathematics book, how do you get past Hempel's dilemma from a Christian perspective?
Hempel's dilemma. Hang on. Let me see if I can pull out my notes. Actually, can you just refresh my memory on that? Because
so like,
take a minute to find.
Yeah, so basically, like the shortest version of Hempel's dilemma is basically if you're using like inductive arguments to prove a claim about like nature, you're inherently incorrect, given that classical physics hasn't explained what matter is. So it's like the concept of like you shouldn't be, you know, you shouldn't be driving a car if you don't understand how the engine works and shit like that.
Things. Reality is explained. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my notes here again. It was a while ago I read the book.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could just like Hempel's dilemma states that, you know, if like, so like for background, a lot of Christian arguments are like, okay, you know, this observable phenomena happened, thus the Christian God or whatever, which is fallacious and is inherently irrational given the state of classical physics and the implications of classical physics. So to me, it seems illogical to continue to make truth claims about a Christian God if the evidence that you use is purely observational based.
Okay, I see what you mean. But that's actually, going back to my opening, that I gave a deductive reason that I believe in the Christian God. It's the only God that I'm aware of that's described as a creator outside of the universe. It's the only God that is described as. It's like somebody creates a computer. They're not in the computer running around changing things in the computer. They're outside of the computer, and that's why, you know. And so that's why I believe in the Christian God. The other things that I threw in,
well, like, hold on, really quick, just so you know, like, and this is what I'm gonna have to press you on, is that deductive argument you made says nothing about Christianity. It just says a God exists, which me and you are on the same page about. But that deductive argument that you made says zero about Christianity in it. There's no, it just says something, it's something, a God must exist outside of like space and time. Okay, I'm with you on that, but you have to make a deductive argument that's personality in it somehow, which again, you're never going to be able to do, by the way. Like there's no deductive argument that's going to give you like personality. Like, so you've got a paradox there, and yeah, it's gonna be a big one for you to hurdle over.
Well, I don't see that I would have to create an argument for a personality. This is the argument for God outside of reality, and whether
but we're talking about Christianity.
Right,
we're talking
right.
Right. So
what I'm getting at is whether you know it or not, that is the Christian God, and there is no other. What's the alternative? And
the alternative is mathematical mind, like Hyperians
well, that's
say.
an infinite regress.
That's not an infinite regress.
Where did this mind come from?
So just in the same way that the Christian, like this is why for some reason you're making atheist arguments again, because like we both understand that the Christian God has aseity. You know what aseity is?
No.
It's like they like okay, so like if I asked you where did the Christian God come from, like what would you tell me?
Okay, so that's yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm saying
same with my.
So you're saying that we were an infinite mind that manifested this reality. That infinite mind is still us. That's still our soul or mind or whatever you want to say. This is something else. This is outside of our reality. That's why it makes sense. And that's why ontological mathematics does not.
So again, you understand that your Christian God has aseity, meaning that it has its own reason for existing. It exists for its own personal reason. All I'm saying is that my mathematical mind theory also has aseity, and that's how it works. It's not an infinite regress. It has aseity, just like the Christian God has aseity. But the difference here is the Christian God is it's like a dualist philosophy perspective, and you guys say that God is like transcends nature, and then you guys and then like if that were true, you'd have to explain how that's possible, and then you guys never do. And so the difference between Hyperianism and Christianity is that we are a dual aspect monism, and we explain how this being outside of space and time creates the space-time. So what we have here is two different models, one that doesn't even attempt to explain the nature of existence, and one that does. And I feel like to me it's more plausible for my argument to be true, even if let's put the mathematics aside. My argument gives a complete model of the universe and how the space-time domain exists. Your model doesn't even attempt to. So to me, my model is better. It's more, at the very least, my model is more plausible, given mine actually gives you an explanation. Yours does not. And in fact, in my last debate, I cited multiple verses where, they're saying in the Bible, like, we can't even know. Like, there's no way for us to know. It's like, okay, well, like, there you go then, like, you can never give a complete model then.
Well, I don't see how your model does explain that. Just saying that it's aseity does not explain it.
Well, that's not my argument, though. Like, when we were talking about aseity, we're just talking about how it's not. I'm just explaining how it's not an infinite regress. But if you read the Hyperion ontological mathematics book, you would understand like how the source formula gives a complete model of the universe.
Well, I did read it, and I guess it just keeps coming back to the zero equaling nothingness thing. And yeah. I guess I see what you're saying, but if
you wanted to, you could even take the nothingness portion out of it, and you could still come to the same conclusion if you started from zero and you went to and you did the equation and did all the steps of the equation and said, oh, okay, the 0 here represents a complex circle, which is the structure of, you know, all of existence. And then that structure of existence equals the implications of that structure equals this sine and cosine wave, which are the mathematical functions of everything. I mean, to me, the fact that you're stuck on the nothingness, you know, word is kind of dodging the functional aspect of the source.
What? How is that possible? What you just described, 0 equaling sine and cosine, proves that 0 is not nothingness. It is something. It is equal to something. It's descriptive. It's I'm not sure I understand how else to explain it.
Yeah, that's because, again, I mean, I'll try to say this one more time, but that's because like our humans' idea of nothingness isn't actually like nothing, right? It's not like nothingness actually doesn't exist, like, right, like in the way that humans understand it. Like all we mean by nothingness is the ground of existence. So maybe that's what you're stuck on. Well, who knows?
There had to have been an origin to that.
Yeah, so the origin of that is aseity, just like your Christian God. I mean, I'll go over that as many times as you need to, but like in the same way that your Christian God exists, that nothingness exists. That's where it comes from. It's aseity.
So essentially, what you're saying is we're in the same boat. You believe it was aseity of mind, collective thought, whatever, and I'm saying it's to say God. Is that where we're at?
Correct, but the main difference here is that your explanation violates Occam's razor. It's like, okay, we have this, and also not only does it violate Occam's razor, you guys don't even attempt to give a explanation of the universe. So what we have, the difference in our ideologies is mine is giving an explanation of the universe that doesn't even violate Occam's razor. And yours, you say, okay, we both understand that God exists, but then you violate Occam's razor by assigning additional attributes to God, giving him a Christian, like, attributes or whatever. So I think that's fallacious. I think that's illogical. I don't think that's fair.
Aren't you adding extra things by saying it's our collective mind?
No, you deduce that from the source formula. So like, so we understand that these mathematical points have their own reason for living, and then the principle of sufficient reason, I don't know if you I guess maybe you got there or not, but this principle of sufficient reason states that, you know, there's no reason for a multiplicity of these nothingness points to exist. So then we say, okay, there's a bunch of these like gods like roaming around, and these gods, I don't know if you got to Fourier transforms, but all these minds add their waves on top of each other and create non-orthogonal waves. And so that's what gives rise to our space-time dimension. It's literally a collective, and you deduce that from the source formula. So it's just not grabbing it from anywhere. So we say that, you know, these are different mathematical minds do Fourier transforms and create the space-time domain as a collective. It's a necessary truth per se.
So that's a lot to take in. So it's essentially, it's coming back to these sine and cosine waves, correct?
Yeah, that's like the basis of all like existence. It's like there's nothing but math and mind, you know. It's like the waves, and then there's the mathematical functions that they like perform.
So,
and that's how you get something that's not necessarily intelligent that generates the universe instead of some like thing that like waves a fucking magic wand and all of a sudden like the space-time domain's there. Like, yeah, that's not an explanation, nor is that logical, you know. But we again have like a way that makes it make sense.
It's I don't know. It's not really making sense to me. I'm trying. I'm really trying here.
Or-
Um, well, the Bible describes God speaking the earth into existence.
yeah.
So if everything's made of these wavelengths, uh, perhaps that's God's voice.
Yeah, but okay, but you like you're saying perhaps like, and then mine is like proof. Like so again, like when you say
I don't see it that way.
when you say, well, I mean, a deductive argument is proof. So whether you don't where you see it that way or not is like, I don't really care. But yeah, but what I would say to what you just said is like, yeah, like it definitely could be like God's voice or whatever. But if we're talking about logical principles and being logical, you are violating Occam's razor by having an answer and then wanting more from that answer to serve your worldview. Oof.
I mean, I think we're saying the exact same thing here,
but we're not. I promise. I explained why we're not, but part of me thinks that you're not engaging with it now. But like again, I'll try to explain it and see if you'll engage with it. The reason why we have different points of view right now and we're not saying the same thing.
No, I understand why what we're saying is why you think what we're saying is different, but I'm trying to understand why you think that you have a deductive reason that only points to Hyperianism.
Yeah, because that's when you deduce the claims from the source formula. These are the attributes that God has. And they're in direct conflict with biblical creation. Like, so, I mean, this is like an analogy that I do with people a lot. And you might have seen it in my last debate, even though I worded it horribly. But like if I told you that we both know that there's a vehicle, and then the vehicle but I told you that this vehicle uses the wind and air to fly in the air, you wouldn't tell me that it's a car. Well, okay, it's the same thing with Hyperianism. Like the deductive attributes that I give that I grabbed from the source formula explain a mathematical mind. They don't explain a being that's intelligent, that has that loves you or whatever. That's things that you guys are adding onto the equation that I have that again violates Occam's razor.
So your problem with Christianity is there's additional attributes to God.
Yeah, it violates Occam's razor. That's correct. It you're saying, okay, there is a God, and I'm agreeing, okay, there is a God, and we have the answer for what God is. We have a full model for what God is. And then you go, okay, but I feel like there's more onto it. That's basically the Christian argument. It's well, okay, I feel like though, there's more to this. Okay, it's okay, well, that's a violation of Occam's razor. You're adding more for no reason. You're adding more. And I mean, in your case, I would argue that you're adding more because you've been fed this worldview for so long that if you would broke it, it might break you. But I mean, who knows?
Well, I find it funny that people just automatically assume that about Christians. Is
I'm
just saying isn't it possible that I've explored other worldviews before?
It is. No, it is. Of course it is.
I know. So,
but to me, in the face of logic, and you seem like a very logical person to me, I think you're smarter than this. But I mean, that's why I come to that conclusion or whatever, is because from talking with you, you seem like a very smart fellow and a very rational fellow, and it seems like as though you've been a Christian for so long that it just would break you if you chose to be rational about it.
That's you're far off, bud. I've only been a Christian for a couple of years now, but
Were your
so
parents Christian? I'm just
yeah.
curious. Well, there you go.
Well, I mean, that doesn't mean like
No, it
my
doesn't. But like,
my
definitely, all
dad
the
was a
information is there.
carpenter. My dad was a carpenter, and I'm not.
Yeah, sure.
So
But you said your parents are. I mean, being a carpenter is a lot different than what religious preference you choose, and
well,
and definitely like I would say like a parent's like religious views like definitely influence like a child's religious views, and definitely like I mean you're a Christian, like makes tons of sense to me.
okay. So getting back to what is it, Occam's razor? Am I saying
Occam's
that?
razor. Yeah,
Occam's razor.
yeah.
I think you already did, but would you mind explaining that to me again?
Yeah, like I mean the like primitive version of Occam's razor will say like existence will take the simplest route. But like in our case right now, like we have a simple explanation or a complete model, if you will. And then for some reason you feel the need to add more attributes on it, even though we have the answer. That's illogical. That's a violation of Occam's razor.
Well, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why I asked you questions in my opening, like, what is the origin of false religion? What is the origin of evil? What is the origin of these things? Because to me, it seems to make sense in a Christian worldview, but it doesn't seem to make sense in a Hyperion world, and that's why I feel the need to add these attributes.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely sympathize with that worldview for sure. But I would say that I mean, just because you want good and evil to exist, just because you want certain things to exist
Hold
that
on. Do you
God,
think that good and evil does not exist?
yeah, I would say they're human constructs. Like I would say like good and evil like is like cultural.
So you don't believe in absolute truth?
No, I believe in absolute truth, but I would say that morality is
Or
cultural.
yeah, sorry, absolute truth in morality, I guess is what I meant to
Moral
say.
objectivity. No, I don't. I don't just prescribe to moral objectivity. It's just begging the question as well. Like, so I don't know if you want to go down that route or not. But again, just because you want these certain concepts to exist, I really do sympathize with that point of view. But I mean, we can, the world can totally exist without good and evil. There's like a couple philosophers that I have like read about who talk about like constructing a moral objectivity off of like what's rational, and I think that's like a way that we can make moral objectivity without a God that doesn't a Christian God that doesn't exist or whatever, or a Christian God that you can't prove or whatever.
So what about religion? Why would a mind manifest that into the physical world? Also,
Yeah, so I would say that we're as people, I mean, as you can tell, like we're learning as we go. If you read the ontological mathematics book, we are but a space-time representation of what is actually true. So we're flawed in the way that we reason, given we're like primitive like beings. Like we're not metaphysical. Like in this body, we're not metaphysical beings. Like we're like a slave to like time and space and like a lot of different human things. So I would say that why religion is a thing right now is because humans as a species haven't learned to like think logically and like critically think, or like we need to
isn't
definitely
it?
teach our
Sorry.
population. Go ahead.
So isn't it our minds though? It's our collective mind that's manifesting this, right?
That's correct.
So why would we not know these things? and why would we hate
Yeah.
each
So
other?
again,
And
I would say that we are not like right now, like our what we are is a space-time representation of what we actually are. So yes, again, like we are those beings, but currently we're occupying a body, which sucks, and like we are we are flawed in that way, so we create things that are illogical, and it's up to us to like teach ourselves logic and reasoning so that we can we can break out of these illogical systems that we have, and actually come together.
I I I guess I'm not seeing why it makes sense to you that we are, we started with why. Okay, this is a way to word this question. Why would we, as a collective mind, put ourselves in a physical reality with zero understanding of anything? Do you believe that we evolved from an amoeba and like
Uh, to me, that question is like neither here nor there, but I definitely will like engage with your like argument that talks about like why would we put ourselves in that. It's
right?
because
Yeah.
and it's because, and this is like also is like another reason why biblical creation isn't true. It's because these entities that we actually aren't like conscious. It wasn't like a conscious decision to make this. It's like through what's called Fourier transforms, which is maybe something that you have read if you read the Hyperion book. It doesn't seem like you read the full book, so that's, I mean, it's fine. But yeah, you would know that. It's not a conscious like decision. These are the natural ways that our mathematical minds work, and just one of the things that we do are Fourier transforms that create non-orthogonal waves, which create an internal projection and create the space-time domain. It's not like a choice. It's just what was always destined to happen, per se.
So what was happening before this then? Where
Before the
we
space-time domain?
before the physical reality that we're living in now, were we conscious? Was it
No. We're just purely in the frequency domain. We're like that singularity point, I guess, that people talk about. Like classical physicists will talk about. The like quote unquote space. It's not really a space because it's like dimensionless. But yeah, like the space that we're in is the frequency domain, which is dimensionless, extended, non-extended space.
so? I don't know. I'm trying to understand what you just said. What you
Yeah,
just
like
said. That's
so before space and time, like the answer was there was no space and time, but like things still existed. Like there's just no space and time. Just like what you would say,
Isn't
like I mean,
that
I bet you would say God like
contradictory?
is no.
Why would that? Why is that?
How's that contradictory?
It's because matter requires space and time.
Yeah, but right. So that when we're talking about matter, we're talking about after the space-time domain was like made. That now there's matter,
So
but before,
do sine and cosine waves not require space and matter? I mean, space and time.
no, no, they exist outside of space. Well, they exist outside of space and time, and you could think of space and time as an internal projection. So inside these mathematical minds is space and time. So that's even why, like, I don't know if you like read, like, that's why Hyperions say like this world is an illusion, is because like it's we're really in the frequency domain. It's just like inside of us is the space and time, like, or whatever, so
I don't know. I don't know. Perhaps I'd have to read again to understand what you're
It definitely,
how that
it
makes
definitely
sense,
seems
but
like it.
I don't see how that's possible.
It's possible because
There's
of the
wavelengths without space.
yeah, it's possible because of Euler's formula explains all of it. Explains how just like I mean even like I would do some I would definitely like research like why Euler's formula is like just even outside of Hyperianism, why Euler's formula is like an important formula. It's because it like
I actually did a lot of research on
yeah,
Euler's,
it
formula.
incorporates like all of the mathematical functions. Like it's like crazy, like how someone did that. Like it shows how frequency information can be translated into space-time like information. And it's not like it's not like here might be something that can help you out. It's not like they're like apart from each other. Like a Fourier transform is like two sides of the same coin. So like the space-time domain is just the frequency domain. It's just a representation. It's just a space-time representation of it.
I'm sorry, can you say that last sentence again?
Yeah, like you could think of this like space-time domain as just like a representation of like the like actual domain that like everything comes from. It's like an internal projection. It's two sides of the same coin.
Internal projection.
Like
So,
that app Shazam. I don't know if you know like what Shazam is, but like it like takes it's like so cool. It like takes like the function of a Fourier transform, and it like takes the space-time information and it represents it as frequency information to tell you like what song it is or whatever. So like you could think of that like that's the same thing of how like the space-time domain, like everything that we can touch is like everything that we can touch is actually just a representation of frequency information, dimensionless information.
but frequencies are dimensionless?
Yeah, like a Fourier transform is taking frequency information and transforming it into like spatial like dimensions. So like before,
I see what you're
like
saying.
yeah, so before there's no space and time, and then space and time exists, but they're not like I really want to stress they're not like apart from each other or whatever. It's just like two sides of the same coin. It's just a different way of looking at the frequency domain.
I don't understand how frequency could be dimensionless.
Because there's no dimension, like there's no dimensional qualities to frequency. Frequency is just like information in relation to itself.
It's like wavelengths, right?
Yep.
Like a frequency is a wavelength, right?
Frequency is like the amount of times that like the wave like oscillates per revolution, which is not spatial at all.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like through this non-spatial like function, do we get spatial information and we get our like space-time illusion that we're in.
It's a lot of info to take in. And see that's what I'm saying.
I would love to have a part two if you want. Like no worries. Like I would definitely love for you to like kind of engage with the Hyperion system like more, because it seems like some of the I guess like some of the fundamental things that we talk about, like, I mean, I know that you read the book, but I mean, for me, when I read the book, I had to read it like 3 or 4 times to like actually know what the fuck they're talking about. Because there's definitely a lot of like, relearning of like concepts that we have to like, do. And definitely like what's called a paradigm shift, which is like, moving from that's why
I don't know if you remember, we talked in the comments section
Yeah.
a couple of times. That's why I reached out to you, and I reached out to Morg and the Hyperion channel. I didn't get a response from either of them, though.
What you can do for the Hyperion channel though is you can subscribe to Morg, and then like when he goes live, like you can like do like super chats, and he'll answer all of the super chats, I promise.
Okay, so your problem with Christianity is that you believe there are unnecessary qualities to the Christian God unnecessary qualities.
Yeah, so I mean, for you to beat me in a debate, you would have to make some type of deductive argument that when you deduce like claims about it, like there's a Christian God. But I mean, I haven't heard any Christian that can do that. I mean, usually, the closest thing I heard to like a good argument against Hyperianism is like somebody under your comment when we were talking in the comments, like gave a video of this Christian dude like talking about Euler's formula, but then he doesn't like link it to Christianity and basically makes our argument for us. So like, if any, and that goes for anybody out there who's watching, if you can make a deductive argument that like shows that a Christian God like exists, like you win, like you totally fucking win. But like, until then you definitely don't win, and you're violating Occam's razor.
So do you believe there's any sort of redemption for mankind's evil, mankind's greed?
I don't believe in good or evil. So
you don't believe that it's evil to kill somebody?
I believe what's like, yeah, like I would say those concepts don't exist, and like what we can replace them with is like, okay, like in that circumstance, was it logic? Was it rational for someone to kill someone, or was it not rational? And these are like what we can use, because we know that morality is subjective. I mean, that could be a debate for somebody else. I don't give a fuck about those debates. But I mean, from the apparent consensus on sociology and ethics, you know, morality is subjective. So we're gonna have to make do with that.
Apparent consensus.
Yeah, like, and what we're going to have to do with that is we're going to have to work with a system that allows us to still move on without good and evil existing. And we can totally do that. It's totally possible to do that. Again, what's good is what's rational. What's bad is what's irrational. Easy.
Well, personally, I think that's the deductive reason. I think that's the flaw of Hyperianism. I think that there is objective morality. I don't think that it's ever right to just walk up and kill somebody. I mean, if you're under attack,
if you can prove to me that good and evil exists, then I'll go to your side or whatever. But like again, okay, that's gonna be an inductive. That's gonna be okay.
If there is a old woman, okay, she's blind, she's in a wheelchair, whatever. There is a bicycle in her backyard. She doesn't have any family, any friends, nothing. Okay? Is it wrong for you to take that bicycle?
So for me, it would be what's like you're begging the question when you ask if it's wrong or whatever. Like, again, like I don't believe in like wrong or right or whatever. It's just more more rational.
Would you feel guilt taking that bike?
It depends the circumstance. If that's just the circumstance, like, yeah, because it's like irrational for me to like take the bike from her. But I mean, if I had more information, the answer could be different. It just really depends on the circumstance. And I think what's good and bad really is circumstantial and is about what's more rational or not. So, I mean, I don't know how that question really is a gotcha.
Well, I'm not. Hey, look, I'm not trying to.
I'm not saying you're trying to get me. Yeah, I'm not saying you're trying to get me, but like that doesn't support your argument or whatever.
Well, yeah. I think it does, and I think that I explained the scenario to you. So she's blind. She's in a wheelchair. She has no friends, no family. That bike is going to go to the state when she dies. Is it wrong for you to take that bike? Or would you feel guilt if you took that bike?
Yeah, like I definitely would, because rationally speaking, it's irrational for me to take that bike from her.
Why is it irrational?
Because
you need a bike
and I don't. Oh, okay. You're telling me that I need a bike. Okay, if I need a bike and she's just blind, yeah, I would say that that's irrational as well, given she like it depends. It really depends what my goal, like what my goal is. Is my goal just to have a bike? If my goal is just to have a bike, then yeah. But if I'm someone who cares about people, then yeah, that's a different
right.
equation altogether.
That's the point. That is right and wrong, man. That's, you care about somebody. You're not just going to take somebody's property because it's wrong.
It's about rationality. It's about what's more rational or not. So again, like you work with you're
just changing the word from like good and evil to rational and irrational.
Well, they're different. Like one claims a moral objectivity and one doesn't. So,
and I'm claiming that it is always, no matter what, wrong to take that bike.
Okay, well that, like, I mean, you're that doesn't, like, when you, like, your opinion that it's always wrong to take that bike is,
I think everybody would agree that it's wrong. That's wrong. That's a wrong thing to do.
I think it really depends on the information given. I think it's dependent on the information given.
What information given would make that scenario okay?
If like if she said I can have the bike, like, or like she said, like, or she like, exactly. But this is my point, though.
I said you're
my point that it's circumstantial. Okay, so if it's circumstantial, then okay, it's the most rational thing to do. So you're giving me an anecdote within a vacuum. So again, like if we assume
that means.
No problem. If we assume, if that's all the information you're going to give me, and I'm some being that just wants a bike or whatever, then yeah, it's going to be the most rational thing for me to do to take that bike. But that says nothing about good or bad being true. It just says, given the current, all you're saying is, given the current situation, what is the most rational thing to do? You're not claiming any good or bad. That doesn't, it really doesn't help your argument. Like, is I guess the point I'm trying to make.
I am claiming that is bad, no matter what. There's no rationality.
You'd have to give proof. You'd have to give proof that good and bad exists, though. I guess the burden of proof. That's not proof.
The proof is everybody agrees. Everybody I've ever asked that question to says, yeah.
Is that an appeal to common sense? Wow, well, how fallacious.
I mean,
it's true, bro.
You're taking the words evil and good and evil, and you're replacing them with rational and irrational because you don't want to answer the question.
It's not because I don't want to answer the question. It's because the burden of proof is on you to prove that morality, good and bad, exists, but you haven't done that. You just appealed to common sense. So until you prove that good and evil exists, then I'm, oops, sorry.
My point is, the whole point of this is, it's written on your heart. It's written on your heart that's wrong.
To emotion. I mean, these are just fallacious arguments that I definitely don't want to engage with because they're fallacious.
Well, I mean, you can deny that there's an objective.
I'm denying them based off of your reasoning, though. Like, I'm not like baseless or whatever. You're committing.
I don't have to give you a reason why that's wrong. You know it's wrong.
No, I don't know it's wrong. I'm sorry. Like, morality.
You answered the question and said it's wrong.
But no, I didn't. I said it's what's most rational. I denied saying that it's right or wrong. The first fucking thing that I said was I don't believe in right or wrong. But I said I'll do.
Boy, I just want to jump in here real quick because you were F-bombing earlier. I was in the backstage. Just on this channel, it's a Christian channel, and
oh shit!
I just do our best. And
my bad.
And that
Yeah,
word
my
is
bad.
objectively
And you
wrong,
did it
boy.
Yeah.
and you did it a couple times earlier, but I was in the backstage just to kind of give you guys the front
Yeah,
row,
no worries.
the
My bad.
stage, you can say. Yeah, so just trying to refrain from that. So if you guys want, it looks like there was a little bit of interrupt. It looks like there was a little bit of crosstalk going there, kind of interrupting each other a little bit. Did you want to? I'm not sure if there's any final points you guys want to make, or if you guys want to continue the discussion for a little bit more. I don't want to just cut you off, and then we can go into, because we do have a ton of great questions from the chat, but I don't want to cut you guys right off. So if you want to just kind of go more equally timed and balanced, go ahead. Go ahead.
For me, like a debate on morality is like things I like definitely try to stay away from when I'm talking to like Christians, because really like ontology is what is going to decide like if those things are real or not or whatever. So like if you prove the Christian God is real, then yeah, I'll believe that morality is real. But like you know, if you haven't done that, you're just begging the question, which is like another logical fallacy on top of the many logical fallacies that you've already committed right now. So yeah, I mean, for me, I'm down to go into Q&A unless we want to, like, unless you have like any other like metaphysical like contentions or like things that yeah, are based in like ontology or whatever. Because I really don't like to talk about observable phenomena, because for me it's like it really doesn't, like, for me it's like what is the ontology say, and then we should just reference everything from that.
Define ontology if you would.
Yeah, like it's
or
like
I can Google it if you want.
No worries. It's like a branch of metaphysics that has to do with like the nature of existence. So it's like the study of like where the fuck we come from. Or I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for cursing. I just curse a lot. My bad.
Boy. And
I'm sorry. Like I only wear a onesie. I don't
need to. All right. Well, okay. Let's do this. If you guys want to wrap up your points, okay. I think maybe we've exhausted the topic. Let's do. I think the best way to approach this is to, I guess, because Fighting Back started. Why don't you kind of wrap up your points, address anything you feel like you still want to address into kind of like a concluding statement, and then we'll allow Boi to do the same. We'll go into some questions. So Fighting Back, take time, address anything you'd like to. There's not really any time limit to this, and then we'll do the same for Boi. And yeah, go ahead. Floor is yours, Fighting Back.
Okay, I guess all I'd really say at this point, I think we kind of have exhausted the topic, but all I would really say is that I think that there is objective morality, and I think that falsifies Hyperianism, and that's why Boi doesn't want to admit to it. But I think all of us know that there is objective morality. It's wrong to steal the bike. It just is. And I don't know why it's written on my heart though, and that's what the Bible says. That's exactly what the Bible says, is that the 10 Commandments are written on your heart. Do not steal, and that's why it's wrong.
Okay, well, I appreciate those final words, Fighting Back, and I do want to say it was a great discussion. Time flown by, very very engaging. You guys clearly both prepared for this. A lot of fun, very lively chat. We're definitely not going to be able to get to all the questions we have, but the Q&A will definitely be a good time. So, Boi, the floor is yours. Take as much time as you need. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say this debate went exactly how I thought it was going to go, and how it usually goes with Christians that I debate. It's a lot of piggybacking onto deductive arguments that have been made already, and then you violate Occam's razor and add attributes to it that don't need to be there. It's illogical, doesn't make any sense. And yeah, I really I'm hoping for some debates where we can I mean, I obviously, to me, I don't think it'll ever happen, because to me, Hyperianism is unfalsifiable. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the day where somebody can make a deductive argument that shows like some type of personality or some type of like those extra attributes that people kind of name when they make these arguments that are fallacious. Yeah, it's definitely a fun debate though, for sure, and I definitely think that this is one of the better debates that I had, given my opponent definitely took the time to read into Hyperianism. So again, I really thank you again for that, and being such a truth seeker. I think you will find the truth, in due time. But yeah, I today I saw what I was gonna see, and yeah. The truth of existence is going to be a deductive mathematical truth that we can all understand, and we need to leave these illogical models that don't give us any type of answers, don't even attempt to give us answers in the scripture that they write, like it says, like they're not gonna like give you the answer. So I think we need to ditch these for ones that make sense, and ones that we can tangibly understand and lead our lives from. So yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate those final words there, boy. Yeah, definitely a good debate. I mean, it's already been an hour and a half, and it has certainly flown. I want to thank the chat for a ton of great questions. Very lively chat tonight. They're having a great time. So these are the best kinds of debates. So thank you to the both of you for giving us your time for this debate. Fighting Back, this is your first time on this channel debating in kind of a formal setting. So thank you as well. Good job to the both of you. And let's get to some of these questions. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning, kind of when this debate first started, okay? So, and we'll try and get to as many of them as possible. Okay. We'll start with this one. So, question from Nicholas. Thank you for your question. Question for Boi. And then, of course, if you guys want a little back and forth on some of the questions, then go ahead. What we always do, to be fair, whoever the question was for originally, we'll just make sure we give them the last word. So here we go. Question for Boi. If the universal mind does not love, then reality is subject to statistical likelihood. In such a case, reality does not exist. How do you overcome this dilemma?
I'm not sure I understand that question. So he's saying without love, then there's only like statistical analogies. There's only statistical inferences. Is that? I mean, I really don't. To me, that question doesn't even make any sense. But I'll try to answer it. Like, I think what he's trying to say is like without like things like Fighting Back is trying to say like without things like morality or like things like love, like, or things like caring or whatever. Like, how can a society move forward? And I would say Hyperianism is like a system of logic and reasoning, and I would say that we can continue forward, and we already have been, but like we can continue forward with constructing these sorts of things that you talk about. Like, again, we can construct an objective morality. We, instead of saying good or bad, we just say like what is most rational, like what is illogical, and these are can be placeholders for those things that you say you need but you don't really need. And the world can, I would say the world, if more people understood that you should just act logically, then we would be even better than where we're at today. So yeah.
For that response there, Boi. Fighting Back, do you want a response to that as well?
Not further than what we've already said. I mean, I think that there is objective morality, and I think that is what creates the necessity for these characteristics of God.
All right. Well, technically, it was your question, Boi. Did you want to have the last word there, or do you want me to move on to the next one?
Oh, sure. I mean, like the last thing I'll say is like notice how my opponent like cannot prove there's like that exists. Like notice how like it'll always be like I feel like this exists. Like he can't prove it. So just pay attention to that.
All right. Well, we've got this question from Argatha. Thank you so much for your question, Argatha. For Boi. So they're coming at you tonight, Boi.
I bet.
If minds are if minds are waves and minds make space-time and waves are functions over time, how can minds make space-time?
Wait, can you re-say that question? Sorry.
I think I'll have to reread it for myself this time. Okay, so let's see. Argoth. If minds are waves and minds make space-time and waves are functions over time, how can minds make space-time?
Well, it's just, I mean, in the thing he said, minds are space-time. So like you kind of just made the argument. I mean, you kind of just made the argument for me, but like yeah, so like but I mean I'll try to like give a better faith answer to that. Yeah, like minds creating space-time has to do with what's called the Fourier transform, which is transferring frequency information into space-time information. So yeah, like we say that these mathematical waves have a function where they make what's called non-orthogonal waves, and these non-orthogonal waves go slower than the speed of time, which is how they're like become like solid or like whatever the fuck, like how matter like comes about. But yeah, that's like the process though, like a Fourier transform. So like look into that.
All right, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So here's the next question. I thought I had a question here for both, so we can get fighting back in on this, but there's a lot here. So let me pick. Okay, this one from. Okay, so this one from Graham Gold. Thanks for your question, Graham. For Boi. So how do you explain that matter can exist before space and time, since matter is energy, and that means it is the motion of electrons, which means time? Question mark.
So you're gonna have to say that one more time, because like usually when I get questions like from, I mean it's really no like usually these questions like from people with like Christian like mindsets, they don't make sense. Like, so could you just like could you like say the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. If any of you guys need me to repeat the question, I'm just reading these word for word. So
yeah, no worries.
If there are anybody in the chat,
that can clarify,
I'm reading. If they can clarify, go ahead. I'll be watching the chat too. So
what are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to clarify, just do so. So this one. So I'll read it again. How do you explain that matter can exist before space and time, since matter is energy, which means it is the motion of electrons, which means time? Question.
Yeah. So like space, anything that you're observing in space time is gonna have time for sure. That's like implied in like space time. But like if we're talking about like before like the space time domain, then yeah, like I mean I feel like everyone understands that there had to be something outside of space and time. Like I think even Fightingback would like agree with me on this, that like whatever is like outside, like whatever is making matter is like outside of space and time. So like yeah, like I would say like even in the person's own worldview that is asking this question, you know, the answer has been made.
All right, perfect. We've got a clarification here. I think question, Bob, I appreciate it. My understanding is that Boi claims minds create space-time. He claims minds are waves. Waves are functions over time. By definition, they can't cause space-time. So this is an
Okay.
elaboration.
I see what he's saying. Yeah, I actually see what he's saying here. Yeah, the classical physicists' interpretation of waves are like functions over time, but when we talk about like motion in Hyperianism, we are the only thing we're saying is a sequential pattern. So motion still exists; it just exists without like time.
All right, I appreciate that, and I appreciate that clarification there, Bob. If I have anything to respond with, any thoughts, comments?
Not really, no.
Okay, hey, no problem, no problem. I just want you both to feel like you're having the opportunity to make your points, make your case, have your responses. So next question is from Crimson Air. Thank you so much for your question. For Boi, believe it or not.
Oh,
is Nazism irrational? And why or why not, depending on your answer?
yeah, I would definitely see Nazism as like irrational because they say that there's like a national identity that has some type of like objective like truth to it, but then no Nazi that I've ever spoken to can tell me like what that is. So yeah, I would say that that's irrational, given they can't even say like why their national identity is like ontological.
All right, I appreciate it. Let me see here. So here's a question here from Logic Plausible Probable. Question for Boi. If Moog says Hyperions need to kill non-Hyperions and it's law to do so, what will you do?
That's funny. Like logical plausible. I can't tell. Wait, what?
I was saying it's Boi versus L right here. This is everybody's dream. So here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't. To me, I can't tell that. I can't tell if he's like being bad faith and that's like a joke, or if this is like a serious like question or whatever. But like, obviously, if somebody told me to kill someone, and it's like if you're telling me that it's logical to do so, then yeah, it's like you're telling me it's logical to do so. So like it's implied in like what you're saying that it's like yeah, like I'll do anything that's logical for sure. Gonna do something that's illogical, like, so yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. And Fightingback, if you ever want to respond or engage a little bit on Boi's responses to the questions, just kind of jump in, cut me off. So, okay, Here we go. Question from Praise I Am. So here we go. Here's the big rematch everyone's been waiting for. So, question from Praise. My question to Boi is, can you explain how your Hyperion god intentionally inserted instructions in the genome to engineer organisms?
I mean, like, to me, that you're assuming something that I didn't say. So yeah. Oops.
Why? I thought that
I never said that. No, I never said some intelligent being injects like.
Well, I think he was saying the Hyperion god is the collective mind.
Yeah, but inject, the word inject means like there's some like conscious being like doing it on purpose, which is, I've never ever said that.
Well, so. I think the question is supposed to, and sorry if I'm misrepresenting you, Praise, but I think the question is, how did this collective mind possibly create genetic code?
Yeah, sure. So we say that the source formula describes like what's called like a monad, which is like an eternal mind, and these eternal minds have all of the information like in existence like at their disposal. it's just about how they like choose to express themselves. So yeah, like the reason why like the information is in like genetic coding is because like our monads have like our monads have that information within themselves. And the genetic coding that we see in observable phenomena is a space-time representation of the actual information that monads contain.
Right. Well, that being said, let's get on to the next question. Question from Sandy Pigeon. Thank you so much, Sandy. So, question is for Boi. Question is, from where exactly did these wavelengths originate?
So this is like something that we covered like in the beginning of the debate. I don't know if this person like showed up later or whatever, but like so yeah, it's like this concept of aseity.
Well,
sorry,
yeah,
what?
no, I was just going to say, yeah, a lot of these questions are kind of all over the place. Well, I was just going to say a lot of these questions are all over the place. So I think this one is from closer to the beginning. So you guys may have discussed that specifically. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I got the answer is like through aseity.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. So let's see. Here's a question from Nicholas. Another question from Nicholas. Thanks so much. For Boi, why do you reject God, even though Jesus, the Messiah, has made him obvious?
Because I don't think it's obvious. I think that like Christians like commit a lot of logical fallacies, and I think that it's like a matter of like learning how to like think correctly. And I think that, you know, I know how to think correctly, and I would say that people who like have adopted the Christian model don't know how to think logically. So they, I mean, I really think they believe that they're right, but I mean, they definitely aren't thinking correctly, and yeah, like they're definitely not following the correct rules of logic.
Well, what I would say to that is Hyperianism it borrows everything that Christianity states. It's literally Christianity, except you took God and made it yourself. That's so I don't see how we're.
I mean, we're not drawing.
Logical fallacies.
There's no way we're drawing from Christianity. We're drawing from mathematics. So
okay. I'm just saying it's the exact same thing, except you're saying it's not an external God, it's an internal God.
So that's not the exact same thing, is
it? No, except you do this and we do this.
Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah.
Right.
All right, guys. Thanks for keeping it fun. So, question from Redefine Living. I put it up on the screen for you, Boi. Thanks for being a good sport.
No
how can a mind that is not made of matter create something that is made of matter?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll do it as many times as I need to, but like, yeah, so like something that's not matter, which is like a monadic mind, is made up of all of the frequency information of like existence. And so these waves do thinking by the principle of sufficient reason. There's nothing from stopping it from like adding their like frequency information on top of each other. So this is like what's called like a Fourier transform. And this is like the idea of like creating something with like it's the idea of creating something with space-time from something without space-time. Or like, I mean, creating is like the worst word to use for it, but it's like a representation of this frequency information. So like the space-time is an illusion. It's merely like a projection of what is actually real, which is like non-space and non-time.
All right, you answering that question. The last question here is just looks like a clarification from earlier. Question
Nice.
from Andrew Kaufman. Question for Boy. Who is Morg?
To me, I mean, he's some dude who like was on like this like show called Freak Show, and he's who started Hyperianism. Yeah, he's the guy who started Hyperianism, or like coined the term, or like I guess started the movement or whatever.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, so we're gonna end it with this, or else we're gonna be here all night, and we're coming close to 2 hours. So, good job to the both of you. So a lot of good questions from the audience.
Yo,
Thanks so much,
thank you
guys,
so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Thank you guys for giving us your time. So question here that we'll end with. Godzilla Freak, thanks for the question. How do you prove that math really exists outside of being a useful function?
Sure. Like that, I mean, this is like a big debate that's gone on in like philosophy. It's like, okay, like is math like invented, or like is it discovered? And like for me, it's like, excuse me, for me it's like, okay, like if I took humans out of the equation, like, and like things still existed, like are there mathematical equations happening? And for me it's like, yeah, they are. Like of course they are. Like, you know, there's nothing about like human experience that makes math happen. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely
All right, I appreciate that. Okay, well, I was gonna say, Adam, if you had any thoughts, and there, so guys agree on something. So let's end it there. And I believe Praise I Am is having an
after show. Touch it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You guys are Hyperion brothers.
Yeah. Can we touch Bibles next?
Oh shit! Let me see. I got one. I do have a Bible here. Hold on. Yeah.
Who's all right?
Who's Hyperianism more though? That's the question. Well, there you go. There you go. We can end it on a good note. Thank you, Fighting Back. Thank you, Boy. Thanks to the audience for a ton of great questions. Sandy Pigeon says, is there an after show? I believe Praise I Am is having an after show. So head over there if you guys have some, you know, sometimes those after shows get 10 people or so in there having some fun. So, yeah. Thanks so much, Boy, Fighting Back, audience. Guys, some final words. You can plug your channels or something before we call it a night. Actually, I will say this Saturday, the audience, be here with us. We got it at 9:30 EST, and next week a ton of shows. So go ahead, gentlemen. Some final words. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, it was super fun. Thank you so much, Fighting Back, for being my opponent today. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate, again, someone, you know, engaging in my worldview and kind of testing my own beliefs like against me. So I always need that. And yeah, I welcome anybody else who's like willing to debate Hyperianism. And yeah, like be on the lookout for my channel for some like debate reviews and like synopsises and like some political stuff if you're into that, and definitely some music stuff as well.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Boy. I appreciate. Oh, sorry. I appreciate you being here.
No, I was just saying. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I've always enjoyed, you know, having my worldview challenge as well. You know, it's a lot of fun. These are the discussions that I live for. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. And yeah, head over to Praise's channel for an after show. We'll see you guys Saturday night. SFT is out. God bless all.